When you're dating a woman long term, she will always ask you to do stuff that she knows first and foremost that you don't want to do, or she'll ask you to do things first and foremost that she knows you have no interest in doing, just to continuously keep proving to herself that he has the ability to say no. Okay, so this is what you're going to find the longer you date women, is that whatever her interests are, she's going to attempt to pull you into that world. She's going to see if she can make your personality into her personality. Now, the more you conform, okay, the more you conform to what she wants or what she claims she wants, the less sexually attractive you're going to be. So this is what men have to understand about being actually like sexually attractive. You have to be disagreeable, okay? A sexually attractive man is disagreeable, and he typically doesn't just conform to what her beliefs are just because she is going to attempt to pull you into that world or claim to you that she's right, okay? So this whole video is going to be about understanding why it's so important to say no, understanding what a real boundary actually does look like in real time if you want to play this out. And on top of that, just understanding how to navigate your long-term relationships for the better, because this is what you have to know. I'll say this again. What a woman is going to do, okay? If you're dating a woman, she needs continuous proof that she should continue to keep sleeping with you. Or if you two are, let's say, married or you're having a family, she needs continuous proof that she should continue to have children with you and continue to stay by your side. Well, how does she get that proof? She gets that proof by constantly reassuring to herself that you are not a yes man. Okay, very important to understand this. This is why disagreeable men who are considered assholes, are the ones who get laid. Men who are disagreeable, men who don't necessarily care what she thinks, you know, at all times because he has a stronger sense of self. These things are very important. But to loop back to my original sentence, okay? Women are going to attempt to get you to do things that she knows you don't want to do, just to continuously prove to herself that you have the ability to say no. She gets turned on by the fact that you will say no. Here's why. Not enough men understand this. If you're dating a woman and you think that she's so hot, okay, this is a very important test, so that way a woman knows what league you're in, how high your sexual market value is. As soon as you tell a woman, no, we're not doing that, no, I don't want to do that, no, that's not how this is going to go. If that man feels in his heart of hearts right there in that moment that that might piss her off, okay, or that conversation might not go the way he was hoping, every single time a guy says no, internally in his mind, he's actually risking the relationship to some degree. He knows that him having the balls to say that sentence is demonstrating like the potential risk of her not liking that situation. So to most men, that's going to actually trigger fear of loss. When you say no, or when you actually say what you want to do and what you don't want to do, when you don't necessarily just conform to that other person's beliefs, in some way, shape, or form, every single time you do that, it risks the relationship. Okay? Women are turned on by the fact that she knows that you have the strength to say no, which ultimately means that you could walk away. Now, a yes man who constantly says yes to everything, what that woman sees is he doesn't have the balls to stand up to me. He is too scared to say no, and he's willing to just go along to get along and conform to whatever that I want just because he thinks I'm so much hotter, and he feels like he can never replace me, so he has to just say yes to all my BS that I want to put him through. That's what that actually means. So what you got to understand about being a man is that disagreeable men who don't necessarily give a shit what other people think, and they don't necessarily care what is considered the social norm, these are the guys getting laid. These are the guys getting laid. These are the men who are not the yes men. These are the men who don't necessarily care about how polite they are and all this stuff. And this is also the guys who don't necessarily care if other people like them or not. Like, you have to get to a point where you just simply don't care. because you know in your heart of hearts what's actually true for you. So this is very important to understand, and I'm going to actually show you how to take this at an even deeper level. Let's go back to the original sentence. Women will constantly attempt to get you to do things that she knows you don't want to do, so that way she can give herself repetitive proof that you have the ability to say no, and you have the ability to disagree with her in that situation and not do what she wants you to do. Here's why this is so important. Okay, so here's what you're going to notice, okay? Guys who are not necessarily socially programmed to be as polite as everybody else, and I think one of the biggest lessons that allowed me to actually figure this out for myself, or ways that I was able to figure this out for myself to teach this better than most, is because I've been an entrepreneur for basically like my whole life. So I've never really had to work for anybody, so I've never had to follow like specific politeness or company culture or any of this. I've gotten to act exactly how I want and wake up and do what I want. And I'm not saying that to boast or brag. I'm explaining to you how I learned this. I learned this by not having to necessarily go into society and have to have the same level of politeness as everybody else, because the only person I had to worry about pleasing was myself, because I've always been doing my own thing. This is what you have to understand. Men who have become overly polite essentially are lacking their primal essence. Okay, their primal essence that basically allows them to act fully like a man in that situation, to communicate effectively the way that they would like. Okay, now the issue with most guys is, since they're in this whether it be workplace environment or at school or wherever, where there's a certain level of expectation of how to speak and there's a certain level of manners that you have to have, that man is not necessarily fully encapsulating his primal essence. So every single time you do that and you're not leaning into that primal essence, you are essentially conforming to a different speech pattern as everybody else, and then what tends to happen is you're going to notice a decrease in attraction or a decrease in arousal. So this is why the dude who's labeled like arrogant or an asshole gets laid, is because to some degree he's demonstrating that primal essence more than everybody else. So this is another thing that you have to understand. You may hear this from time to time. You may hear this from time to time on social media. You may hear this from time to time just when you're out with friends. Women might say something like, oh, it's so hot when he has boundaries, or I get so turned on when he shows me his boundaries. Here's where men get this completely wrong. If you are a guy where you carry yourself with the same level of social politeness as everybody else, and you try to say a boundary like logically, let's say you start dating a woman and you're like, hey, just so you know, if this ever happens, this is one of my boundaries. Okay, watch what happens. She will take note of that, not respect what you said at all because of the level of politeness that you have, and you're taking the time to logically explain this boundary, which is more than likely going to turn her off. What things look like in real life played out that actually works, okay, on like a primal level, so that way she maintains attraction and she sees that you have like a strong masculine frame. Everything comes from vocal tone. Everything. The vocal tone of the arrogant dude. What the quote-unquote boundary may look like in real life is when she says something or does something, that guy goes, no, that's not how we're doing it. Nope, don't care. Nope, not doing it that way. Well, I don't care. Well, because I said so. Well, that's that. And if she says, well, I don't like that, then you can say, well, I don't care. That's how we're doing it. If you don't like it, I don't care. And now she has the choice to say, okay, I don't like the outcome of this, so I'm going to either leave him or I'm going to stay by his side because he says no. Now, what you're going to watch actually happen is, since now you have the balls to essentially risk the relationship to some degree because you know what's right for you, she now, in her subconscious, like primal essence hardwiring, goes, whoa, he has higher SMV, higher level sexual market value than every other guy who would have just conformed to what I wanted. And I can tell in his vocal tone, he basically just goes, no, I don't care. Right? It's tone. It's like, it's that primal essence. Since he still has that, even though it pisses her off in the moment, her attraction stays high. And her attraction stays high because she goes, whoa, he has higher level SMV than everybody else who would have just conformed to what I wanted instantly to appease me. And now her emotions work in your favor, and what you're going to notice is she stays by your side because she feels on a primal level that you are stronger than everybody else. A lot of this comes from vocal tone. A lot of this comes from not being overly polite. A lot of even the gestures that you notice men do, maybe it's greeting people a certain way. Oh, hey, how you doing? Shakes their hand. Yeah, nice to meet you. Oh, yeah, awesome. We'll see you later. All this stuff, this politeness. A lot of times men are doing this because there's women around and they feel as if there's a social expectation to be polite, but all that's happening is they are removing the natural primal essence from themselves by operating that way, and women can tell that you conform to the politeness expectation of everybody else, and long-term this stuff turns her off. Long-term this stuff turns her off. A woman can pick up on which men get this in under 60 seconds, I'd say. It takes just one look at how that guy moves and how that guy operates. Same with me. I've been making these videos long enough where I can tell you, if I see a couple walking down the street, I can tell you within 20, 30 seconds if that relationship is probably solid or not. Because I've seen the vocal mannerisms and the nuances of what actually heightens arousal in a woman and what happens when the man acts incorrectly and now she doesn't have desire. So this is what you have to know. A woman is going to constantly see what she can get you to agree to, just to see if you have the backbone to actually say no. More often than not, most men don't have the ability to say no, and then by the time they do, it's like this sit down type conversation of like, hey honey, you know, I love you a lot, but I really don't think we should do it like that. No, screw that. If you see something right there in that moment that you don't like, you can just say however you want to say it and lean into that primal essence to say, no, that ain't how we're doing it. I ain't going along with that. That ain't how we're doing it. Too bad, so sad. That's that. And what she also sees there is you didn't have to sit and think about it. It came natural. It was like your reaction to like being tested a certain way was essentially like, you're not going to put up with that no matter what, or that's not what you're going to do for the well-being of you. And a woman wants to see that. Because at the end of the day, what that actually signaled was that you do not have hesitation, especially when you speak. In fact, I would even go to say this: a woman can't even trust your judgment as a man if you don't have that vocal nuance to you. You can make all the money in the world, you can do all the things that leverage high status, a good amount of corporate status, you'd be a good provider, you'd be polite to her, you'd always take care of her, you're going to be there for the kids, you're going to do all this stuff, and she doesn't care. She doesn't care. She doesn't care, because constantly what you show is you put everybody before yourself. Constantly what she sees is, it's like you basically forget the fact in your vocal tone that you have balls. And she sees that you're willing to go along to get along just to be polite to everybody. The way that I personally believe that I learned this was by not going to college. I don't have a degree, so I didn't have to go through the same. Once I got out of high school, I took a couple classes to see if college was for me, and then I never went after. So I didn't go to college. So the thing is all this like BS that dudes had to learn, and I see this. I see a bunch of dudes like with degrees and stuff working these jobs and stuff, and like, yeah, they make maybe good money, but they're just so polite. They're just so, it's like everything has just been stripped out of their voice. It's like they have no more primal essence. I believe that I learned these types of skills that I'm teaching you by not going to college and then by being an entrepreneur. Because by being an entrepreneur, I didn't have to fit a specific mold of like expectation of what I'm supposed to do every day. So because of that, I did things the way that I wanted to. So that's how I learned this. If you're not in that situation, which most of you probably won't, you're going to literally just have to practice. You're going to have to practice probably being a bit more disagreeable, okay? You have to practice. You have to practice all this. You have to practice where it's like maybe there's 5 people in a room and they all hold a different belief than you, and you have to be willing to say what you think. And then you have to be willing to say and think that, you know, I think this is right and I don't really care. I know I'm right. So you guys can think that if you want, but this is what I think is true and I don't care. Like, you got to start practicing this stuff, because listen, I hate to break it to you, I have done my best to try and find different ways around this. Listen, I can't. I have tried to find different ways around this. Guys try to mask this skill that I'm teaching you, leaning into this primal essence. Guys try to mask this skill right here with more game advice, better flirting, better text message scripts, going out and getting good at, you know, all the good pickup lines and all this like rehearsed stuff that they think is going to create attraction. Listen, you cannot do anything surface level to fix this one root problem. What I'm teaching you right here in this video is going to be the real and raw things that a man has to understand to actually have a good dating life and actually understand female nature at its core, and on top of that, be able to continuously wake up every day and feel good about himself because he knows he's putting his time in the right areas, because he doesn't constantly say yes just to appease the other person. If you like this video, I advise you to take this even a step further. So if you think this material is good that I created right here, join me inside the community that I built to help you learn, understand, and master the language of women. Because I want you to imagine this one thing. If you think me, okay, just sitting here, waking up in the morning, I haven't even brushed my teeth yet. If you think me sitting here, okay, just talking, like none of this is scripted. I literally just sit here and talk. I wake up in the day and I have literally no agenda of what I'm going to talk about at all. So if you think this is good, me just thinking stuff and telling you it, I want you to just imagine for a second how far I go with the information that I can teach you in my actual regimented processes. When I help guys learn, understand, and master the language of women, I sat down and I said to myself, okay, at this point in my dating life that I'm at, with everything that I've learned, how can I get these guys success the fastest? How can I sit down and script out every single step-by-step process that I want that guy to understand so he can copy-paste this into his dating life and start to win? How can I do that? And so I went and I did it. I want you to imagine just how far I take it in that program, in that process, to actually help you get success quicker. If you think that I'm good at just making these videos, sitting down, talking to you, I want you to imagine just how far I go and just how good I get at teaching these concepts at an even deeper level in my actual community. Hit that like button, join us inside of this community so I can help you learn, understand, and master the language of women, and we'll see you in the next one.